rebuilding confidence, and harmonizing with nature. With over 4 decades of changing lives, your self-discovery archaeologist, get ready to be the best of you with your host, Beverly Zimet.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Beverly Zimet Show, where being the best you has just gotten easier. My guest today is Jessica Yarbourgh, and she's calling in from Carlsbad, California, right? And she is a strategist in business, and she's going to tell you all the ins and outs and what you need to do to get your business on track and get it moving forward. So welcome, Jessica.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Well, you're so welcome. So what is this business strategist thing all about?
Yeah, it's really helping people to build expert businesses. I work with a lot of coaches and consultants and help them really extrapolate what is their genius and then package it in a way that allows them to serve their ideal clients and to make the influence and the impact and income that they desire.
Woo, that sounds like a lot of neat things. You mentioned something there. Find their ideal client. Oh my gosh. I'm sure, with your coaching, that's probably one of the most asked questions is, I don't know how to find the right person, or I don't know where to go to find that right person. Do you hear that? What would you say to someone that asks you that kind of question?
Well, yeah, I think a big trap that a lot of people fall into is trying to serve everybody. And when you're everything to everyone, not one person that really is going to get the most results by working with you. And so you need to slice in what it is you want to do, and you need to narrow in on the person that you want to help. And, depending on what they do and what you do, you can pick a different platform that might be more congruent with where they're going to be. But other than that, you got to look at certain things like demographics, what types of career do they have? What's their income? What's their lifestyle? What's their religious? All of those things. And then you also need to look at the kinds of people that give you energy, that, are going to listen to what you have to say and are going to take action so that you can get results that you're promising. And I think each person listening has probably had a client that was not a good fit and made you feel drained or exhausted. Trying to get them to do something was like pulling teeth. Right. Those are not the kinds of people you want to work with. That's not turn out well for anyone. And so you need to kind of set what is your list. And for me, it's like looking at the energy, looking at if they're action takers, do our values align? Are they gonna listen to what I say? It's really important.
Oh yeah, that definitely is key, and being able to listen to hear what they're saying, but to hear behind what they're saying is something different, right? Because, a lot of people, talk, but they don't actually do. And that's on both sides of the fence, whether you're the customer or client, or whether you're even the practitioner or the coach or whatever, right? Because a lot of times it's the walking the talk that sets you apart from either, depending on, what side of the fence you're on either side of the fence. Because knowledge without action is just that, right?
Right. Exactly.
And so it's all about action takers, and it does get to be hard work if you have someone that's not an action taker, because nothing's going to work for them. Why isn't it going to work for them? Because they haven't done the activity, right? And so, but they don't want to hear that. It's your fault that I didn't do this, and it's like, oh my gosh, right? Have you found yourself in that trap maybe earlier in your business?
Yes. Yeah. I think we are in the beginning, because we have this desire, I want to help everyone, we'll take on just everyone, and then you quickly realize that it's not worth it. And so very quickly, the sooner you can have some kind of thorough vetting process, the better. And not only do I have an application process and different things in place that allow me to protect my time and to be more selective with the kinds of people that are even on a potential call with me. I also use my intuition. Right. And if I get those red flag warnings, I'm not even going to get on the phone with them. And if a few minutes voice and like what they're having to say, I can already kind of hear the red warnings, then I'll get them off as quickly as possible, because it's not just about the money. As you grow your influence and income, you get to be very discerning and very selective about who you allow in your program. It's not about you trying to sell someone and convince them. It's about you saying, do I want to work with you? Do I like you? Do I want you to, you to access to my phone, whatever it may be on the level of your relationship? And if that answer is no, then don't take them on as a client.
Right. And that's really, really great information, because it's so true. Like when you're first starting out, it's like you're going to take anybody just to get started, right? And then after the fact, again, that becomes a learning process. But I've talked to so many amazing women, and a few men are starting to come on the show, but mostly women. And to hear them say some of the similar things that you just said was to follow that intuition, to follow what that gut red flag is waving loud and clear.
Yes.
And when you don't pay attention to that, and it's not just in business, in every aspect of your life, you're going to run into trouble, because it will come back to bite you sooner or later, right?
Yes.
So that's
not worth it.
No.
It's not worth it.
No. The mental strain, the emotional strain, the physical issue. Oh, it's just like, it puts you in a space of uncomfortability, and puts you in a space of, why did I do this? And it really starts to have you doubt yourself, lose confidence in yourself, right? And it's like, that is definitely not the space that you want to go. And sometimes we have to put things on the shelf a little bit and really focus on that mindset of who that ideal person is, and know that it's okay to say no, because that yes will come, and it's definitely worth the wait, right?
Yeah. And it's like, think about all the people that you say no to. You're allowing that for that perfect person to come in, the right person that you can say yes.
Oh, that is so powerful. So say that again about, it's okay to say no.
It's okay to say no, because the more you say no to people that aren't a fit, the more you're allowing that space for that perfect person to come in and say yes.
There you go. Now you heard it from the expert here, right? Comment below if you liked what she just said. That is a powerful morsel. If you don't get anything out of this conversation that we're going to have here for the next, about 45 more minutes, right? Don't forget that. Put that in your memoirs. Write it down. Put it a plaque on the wall. It's okay to say no. Because when you say no, more often, the right person is going to find you. But if you filled in the blanks and filled in the spaces, that ideal person can't find you because you're full up.
That's right. With the wrong people.
Yeah. That's right. And then you get aggravated and you're like, why did I do this? Why did I do this?
Yep.
Right? And so it works on both sides of the fence, and that's energy. There's so much, I think, that people don't really understand the power of the energy and how it impacts everything that we do, whether it's in business or in personal or in our health, right? And the mindset that we have with that. When you're working with a client and getting their businesses started and getting them successful in what they do, how do you incorporate the message of the power of the energy so that they start to really feel it, and they start to get confident and start trusting in that energy?
Well, it's a couple of things. I mean, I'm such a big believer in the power of mindset and energy that I built that into my program, and I have an expert come in and hold trainings and classes monthly around it, because it's so important. For my clients, I'm regularly coaching them and saying, hey, you need to be aware of your energy at all times. So whether that's approaching a sales conversation and not being in a space of need, I have to sell it, I have to close, which is going to repel people away, because the majority of our communication is nonverbal, so they can sense and feel if you're coming from a place of need. To even when you show up to write your content, if you're just like frantic or coming from a place of need and not really tapping into like what you need to share right now and people need to hear, and coming from that place of service, all of that is going to come across in your content. And that's why I think a lot of content isn't very good and it doesn't convert. So people spend all this time because they're not in the right space and really saying, what do people hear right now? What do they need to hear right now from me? And what's my purpose behind creating?
That's great information, really great information, because again, that is so true about when we go back to what this show is all about, being that best you that you can be, right? And it's the content that we absorb coming from the person that we're seeking, the assistance and the guidance with. So knowing that content and how you put it out there. So these conversations that I have on this show are organic, and they're organic for several reasons. And one of the reasons is just what you spoke, is to be able to come from the heart and the truth of what it is that you're looking to convey to the audience here, so that they know this is the real you, not a you that was put together with certain words that you had to say to see if you could sell somebody or whatever, right? This is what you see is what you get with Jessica here today, and on any of the speakers that are on my show, because they are being true and coming from their heart, right? Not from a predestined, this is what I say, blah 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 blah, so it's been memorized to just kind of come out, and I'm sure you've heard speakers and you've heard conversations, and when you look for a coach, because coaches need coaches, right? So when you're looking for that, are you looking for someone who's organic and coming from the heart? Or do you hear this blah, 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 almost like it's a recording to say, wow, that is so not me, right?
Yeah, the longer you're in business, the more discerning you become. And so I think if you're heart-centered, you tend to trust everyone, and that doesn't always serve you well in business.
Right.
But then you can start to really tune in and use discernment. And I look for authenticity. I don't look for people that are really money hungry or super flashy or telling, there's a lot of people who just tell you what you want to hear, but they don't really give you no depth when you go there. And so I'm looking for someone with some depth, with that heart. And you can feel that, you can sense that. So I think that's really important. Something I look for in a coach. And of course I'm looking for someone that, has demonstrated success as well.
And
results.
Right. And that is definitely critical when you're putting your, say, life in their hands as that guidance and that direction, right? To make it compatible with one another. You also used a word a couple of times in this last comment you made, and that was discernment.
Yes.
Right? Explain to our audience exactly what this discernment is all about, because I think a lot of people really don't have a clear understanding of discernment, which then gets them in trouble, right?
Yes. Well, I think a problem I see, and I was there as well, even though I had, had success and built other companies, like you're so excited in the beginning and you're just like, yes, 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 yes. You're saying yes. And you kind of have that shiny object syndrome. And you, one of the things people are so anxious to grow so fast. This is very common in entrepreneurship. Everybody's like, I want to make 6 figures, and 6 figures is pretty wide range, but you're like, I got to make 100. And they're like, I got it. And then I got to get here. And you have this desire. And so what happens is we shut out our intuition and say, I'm just going to, follow all these people and start buying all these things because I think this is the quick way to get there. And the reality is there is no quick way. That, there are strategies that can catapult you, but there's still work that is involved behind it. And you need to really not only just go with what your ego is saying, like, oh, they have this thing that I want, so I'm going to buy it. Right. And sort of that lifestyle, but say, is this really in alignment? Use the discernment. Is this person who they say they are? Is this person of good moral character? Do our values align? Are they actually teaching me something with their stuff? This is the thing I was like, am I learning something? Do I trust them?
Right.
There's just certain things that you need to look for so that you can become more discerning. And I promise when you start to run through someone through those questions, you'll know whether you're supposed to work with them or not. You'll know very quickly. Right. And so that use of discernment and so usually lessons are every person I know that comes to me has been through them. And sometimes you just need to have that lesson so that you don't do it again when the stakes are higher. And that's what I tell my clients when they get bummed about these things. I'm like, well, at least you didn't do it when on the line. At least it was 10,000 or whatever. So.
Right, exactly. And too, you mentioned something about, people start to look at, hey, I want this 6 figures. And again, you have to go into this belief system. Have you ever made 6 figures before? Well, no. Okay. It's a step by step. The psyche needs to be on track with that.
Yes.
As well. So what is a doable for you? What is the average? Most people, 3,000 to 5,000 is where they're at in their income, right? And it's like, let's make this a hurdle, okay? Is it believable? Do you really believe, does your psyche believe in everything that you are, that it's possible to make $10,000 a month? Yeah, that's really believable. Well, what about 20? Yeah, I can go for that. What about 25? Ooh, maybe not so much, right? And we're using these intuition things. So, okay, let's make our first goal to make $20,000 a month. Because once you make 25 or 20, right, you can go to 25, you can go to 30, you can go to 35, you can go to 50. So each time you make one of those little hurdles, you'll be at 6 figures before you know it.
Yes.
Because you didn't try to jump so fast that your whole physiology is saying, are you crazy?
Yeah.
Who do you think you are? That's that subconscious thing talking, right? So you do it step by step. And
yes, you do it step by step. And to what you say, it's because some people they've been selling $3,000 or $5,000 packages a while, and they're like, well, how am I going to sell 10, or how am I going to sell a 25K package? And each you're breaking through limitations, and you're creating a new reference point in your consciousness. So when you're like, hey, just like you said, I've done 250,000 in sales, that's your new reference point. Now it's your subconscious mind is that, yeah, let's go bigger. And it's the same thing. How do you be confident about selling your first $10,000 program? Or how do you get confident to sell $10,000 programs? You sell your first $10,000 program. It's like,
that's right.
Create the reference point, and then the next one.
Right. But you have to start somewhere where your belief currently is. Right?
Absolutely.
Because that's the inner conflict that goes when you go beyond that. The inner conflict is going to win out no matter what. So you've got to have, like you said, that reference point and work up to it. And you can work beyond that very, very fast. Again, you can go as fast or as slow as you want, right? And changing that mindset is powerful, and that trusting in yourself as well. And are you confident is what you have? Are you confident in marking what you have at a $10,000 price versus at a $2,000 price, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So, but you have to start somewhere.
Yes.
Right. And, I've been learning this in sales a long time ago. I've been in sales all my life. And it's like, if you market below value, nobody's going to buy it. Because it's too cheap, it can't be worth anything, right? And it might be the best thing that you ever did, And at the same time, just because it says it's 3,000 or 5,000 doesn't mean it's the best fit either, right?
Right.
So overpriced, underpriced, and just because you think, well, if it costs more money, it must be better. Again, it's using that intuition, right? Is to say, what's in it for me?
Right.
If I'm putting myself on the line, what am I looking to gain as the outcome? And then that gives you the opportunity too to ask the right questions, right?
Yes.
So when you're interviewing someone, you're giving questions, and hopefully they're coming back with different questions to see if that is a right fit.
Absolutely.
Right? So, but have you found sometimes you'll get someone on the other side, and it's like you're asking the questions and they give you just a delegated answer, so to speak, and then there's dead silence, and they don't ask a question, they don't give you feedback. Have you ever experienced that?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes people come very guarded to a call, and that's a telltale sign of what kind of person they are. So if they're not open-minded and they're not coachable and they're not being willing to share, then that's probably not going to be a good client.
Right.
Most of the time when people get on the phone with me, I have credibility in the marketplace. So they've already been watching my stuff. They know what I'm talking about. They also,
Right.
know I'm not a slick salesperson because I don't believe in convincing anyone to buy anything. Uh, that is not a good start to a relationship. Client.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So a lot of people are very open and vulnerable. And, I go in there and I ask the hard questions and I ask them right away. And it's not to make people uncomfortable. It's because if I want to help you grow and scale a company, I need to ask the hard questions. I need to ask you to look at the things that you haven't looked at, or that
Right.
you're like, nah, yeah, I don't really want to deal with that. So I think it's around this. No, I need specifics, because that tells me, let me see where what areas we can improve on. So you need to know where you want to go and if it's reasonable. Because if somebody comes and they're like they've made $50,000 and they're like, I want to make $1 million in the next year. Unless they have $250,000 to spend on marketing and advertising, the answer is no. So I make sure that
Right.
that there is, we can get them jumping levels, but I will never go in there and say, yeah, you're going to make $1 million in a year when you're at 50,000. And so I need to know where they're at. I need them to get vulnerable about where they want to go and why. And then let's see what we can actually do that is reasonable, that we know, hey, we can strive to achieve this mark, but we're going to work towards this baseline growth over the next year.
Being in the finance end of it, do you find that people are really conservative? They don't want you to know for sure what they're making, thinking that you're going to think they're not very good in business, or they want to make a false claim in there so that they look better, right? Have you?
I've had it happen. I mean, for the most part, people are pretty honest because I ask everything on a pre-qualifying questionnaire. But sometimes people will not tell the truth, and I'll get on there and they'll say, oh, actually, I've had a job. So that was my income plus my side hustle. And I said, well, this is a very different thing, because I work with established people. And so sometimes people, I feel like, are embarrassed. That's one thing I actually do come across a lot, is that people are embarrassed or ashamed that they're not further along than what they want to be. And I actually find it a lot with mindset and business people, is that they're like, well, I promise that I can do these things for my clients, but I haven't been able to achieve them for myself. And so that's actually something that holds a lot of people back, because they don't want to ask for help, because that's admitting that even though they might be great at helping others achieve success, that they haven't been able to do it in their own business. And so that brings up a lot of insecurities around asking for help.
Oh, that is so true, and I find that in the work that I do, because I come from the emotional aspect of it, right? And when you're looking at that buried shame and guilt and judgments and stuff that we place upon ourselves, we want to be assisting others, right? We want to be the fixer, so to speak, right? And the one that does it and whatever. And it's not always easy to take your own medicine, shall we say?
Yeah.
Right? And that's just another proof that people need people. Coaches need coaches.
Yes.
You may be an expertise in your field of finances, but you may really suck in a relationship, right? Or something else, So know where you lie with your assets and your expertise. And where you struggle, then go find someone who is an expertise. And that's about becoming that better you, right?
Absolutely. And that's why I am such in healers and, intuitives and all of that. I've always had someone that has been supporting me with my inner landscape. That's not just business strategy. And then I have business strategy type mentors. Important to have both, and everyone needs that non-judgmental, impartial feedback from someone outside of your family and friend circle who help you kind of cleanse glasses on how you're viewing the world, how you're showing up in your relationships, in your business, with your health, all of those things.
And it's all together. It's all unit. It's not
Yes.
just one avenue. It's everything. So it's usually how you do one thing, you do everything, so to
Yes.
speak, right? And so it is about getting, the best that you can be. And it's okay to say, I need assistance over here, because that's why certain people are in different avenues of life, where they succeed, where they shine, because that's just their structure.
Yeah.
I like the word you used, inner platform. I like that. I've never heard that statement like that. It's like, oh, that I might have to steal that inner platform, right? And again, it's how you build that, and why did we, like let's just say, you are that expert in finances and you're really good about that. Yet, let's just say, and not pointing fingers
Yeah.
here, but saying that, you really suck at relationships. Well, what happened? Something may have happened, when you were, say, 10 years old or 12 years old. Maybe your parents got a divorce, right?
Right.
And so you were seeking this form of love that you didn't get, or you blamed yourself or at fault for that. And so the attraction for a partner came kind of at a dysfunctional direction, right? And then you get in this relationship and you're like, oh my gosh, this isn't what I want, and how do you get out of that, right? So
Right.
Again, it's becoming that better you and looking at, what can I do to move out of that? Where is this blockage at that I can overcome, right? And so you look for those avenues, and then you start seeking out those that can help you do that, and begin to be in balance all over the place. And you mentioned that you're working probably with a lot of different entrepreneurs, and practitioners, and I've run across this myself with a lot of practitioners that are in the different healing arts, and they have a big issue with charging,
Yes.
right, their clients, a fair amount. It's not like gouging or anything, but they sell themselves short, and then they wonder why the person doesn't come back or doesn't really maybe get the outcome that they're seeking, because they didn't really have skin in the game, so to speak.
Right, of course. That's why I'm a big believer in high ticket model. And, the healers I do have in my program are all selling the higher end services. And it's also why I don't work with a ton of healers, because they have to own their worth and be ready to create a real business around it. And a lot of them struggle so much with that. It's the broke healer complex,
Right.
that that it's just not going to work. And so that's why I'm very selective with the healers that I do bring in my program. And they're people that are ready. They've done enough of the inner work on themselves, and they're like, yes, let's create a real thriving business. And they treat it like a business as well.
So when you're working with someone in that financial aspect of it, do you also work with helping them build, say, a course or a retreat or a monthly program around their business? So you actually help them build that course
Yes.
that they're marketing? Okay.
Yeah, I help them build coaching, consulting, service-based programs. I don't focus on actual courses, though they do design, materials and trainings to support their clients. And the reason why is because courses have an 85% attrition rate. So most courses are sitting empty on someone's desktop, and the transformation is not in the information, it's in what you do with that information.
Exactly.
And so rather than teach someone how to monetize a course and retire on a beach and all of that, I teach people how to take their gifts and turn it into high value coaching, consulting, masterminds, retreats, all of those, so that they can work with clients that are serious, that are willing to put that skin in the game and pay them a premium, and are going to listen to them to get results.
Right. And that's so true. That's great information. And I think a lot of us forget about that when we're in the midst of it. And again, that just goes to show that you need a coach. You need someone on the outside that's going to give you that guidance, that direction to step into your power and into that belief structure of yourself that, hey, what I do have to give is definitely worth that.
Yes.
Right? And to instill And and I find the same type of questions, the same kind of answers with people, is that self-worth, their self-esteem, their self-confidence, their trust in themselves, their belief in themselves is like really small.
Right.
Really small. And again, when we start getting back into the depth of it, it is something that has happened in their rear view mirror, when they were very young. And again, they don't want to look at it, and I've seen with a lot of practitioners is they suppress in those three lower chakras, your survival, your martyr, and your victim, right? So they suppress everything down here, and I'm this loving person, I come from truth, and my heart, and I'm spiritual and everything, and they're like, yeah, right.
Right.
And you just see their movement, their body language, and everything saying completely opposite, and you can hear the conflict in their words because they've denied the truth of where it began to actually move it out of the way. And sometimes that can be a real struggle, because when you start looking back into those old files and the distortion, oh my gosh, the distortion of that information that is so not what it was at the very beginning, because again, all thoughts magnetic. You talk to somebody about something, you had an event happen, and you're spilling your guts to your girlfriend or whatever the case may be, and they're sharing things that are similar, and so you're dumping all of their connections with the magnetic, negative information and whatever. Their stuff becomes your stuff. You watch a movie and you're crying, oh God, that's so true, that was me, and how could I be so stupid, right? And all of that. So you're building on other people's emotions. And so your little problem that was this big now is like this big, right? So it's not about trying to get to the needle in the haystack. It's about recognizing where it started and eliminating it from that point. To acknowledge that, hey, you know what, this stuff that doesn't taste good, doesn't smell good, doesn't sound good, doesn't see good, doesn't hear, is my truth. And that's what's my cell memory. That's my conflict. And if you don't acknowledge your conflict, your subconscious will never let it go.
Sure.
Right? And so when you acknowledge it and you tell your subconscious, okay, you're right. Okay, well, let's change it to something else, something that's going to be better. It's like, see this little piece of candy over here, this used to taste really good, don't taste so good anymore, but man, I got this new one and it really tastes good, right? That's changing the old database to the new database without the conflict being there. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm sure when you're working with finances and people's belief in are they worth that you're finding, again, it goes back into what their parents made, how hard they had to work, some of that program that was dumped into them, right?
Yes. Money doesn't grow on trees. You got to work hard. Yeah. All of those things we have to break and reform.
Go to college, get an education, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's sad that the things that are really necessary to survive in this so-called third dimensional world is not taught.
Yes.
Right? And that, I think, is where the whole coaching thing has finally blossomed into the level that it has, is because the need for it has gotten so strong that something had to give, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So when you talk about the coaching and stuff that you do with your finances, how does that differ from, say, a financial advisor or a tax guy, someone doing your books?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not dealing with any of that realm. I'm just helping them from the financial aspect of like, what do you want and what's the pricing and how we're going to package it and market it to the world. So that's the wealth creation, business building side of things. I don't do too much with actual looking at people's finances. I just more like know what they want to make and where they're at now. And then I help them build the marketing strategy to get there.
Okay, so you give them actually marketing system, so to speak, to get it out there to the right person at the right price. And
exactly. Help them build credibility, help them move from being, the hunter to the hunted online. So creating that excitement and demand for their services. So people are eager and ready to buy and dropping into their inbox saying, hey, I watched your video. I've got to have a conversation with you. all of those skills, because the most successful coaches aren't, and healers really are not necessarily the best. They're just the ones who know how to market themselves. And so for those of you who are like, I'm not a marketer, well, I'm here to tell you, too bad. You're going to have to learn about it if you want to reach more people. And it doesn't mean that you have to, do everything forever. But when you're in the beginning of your business, you're going to have to know enough and get enough support around developing your message so that you can succeed. And then as you grow your influence and income, you'll be able to bring team members in to help you with some of that. But you are your message. You are your business. And if you don't get the marketing piece, you'll stay in a perpetual state of struggle.
And that is so true. That's just so true. And I've noticed doing the show, I've done shows before and whatever, and I wanted to do it on a different level this time, right? And so working out there to, just get this information out there on this different type of platform, which is more of a professional type, because now more than ever, everybody's out there doing Facebook's lives and they're scrambling like crazy, to bide for that time. So how do you set yourself aside to becoming, again, that expert in whatever field it is that you're in? And what I've noticed is there's a lot of people out there that are trying to market their business, but they don't have a professional way to do it. So I started putting it out there for people who are looking to do this, is how to have a more professional look and teach them how to do a show and how to make this show animated, how to run it to all of your platforms at the same time, right? You talk about virtual assistants, right? And you get yourself someone that you can delegate all these things to. But you need to know what all that is about. That doesn't mean you need to do it for the rest of your life. However, again, when you can find platforms and different things that can combine all of this together, it makes your life easier.
Definitely.
Right? And how do you make this show work, on a shoestring budget? Because sometimes that's where people are.
Where most people are starting out, yes.
Yeah, and so how can you build on that and go to that next level? So I put together a little program on that, is how to be in the face of the camera and learn how to create a professional looking show or podcast or just presence out there on the internet where you're going to stand out different from all the other static out there.
Yep.
Right? And the response has been very good, and it shows how serious and committed you are too. And again, like when you're talking to a client, I'm sure, it's how committed are you to reaching that 6 figures if that's what you want? How much energy and effort are you going to put into it?
Exactly.
Where's your persistence? Where's your drive, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So, gosh, you have given us so much great information. How, if people want to get a hold of you, how would they find you?
Well, you can definitely find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on Facebook. You can also find me on the web at jessicayarbrough.com, or check out my YouTube channel at Jessica Yarbrough. I put out a ton of really valuable video content that tells you step by step how to, build an expert business.
And is your website jessicaborough.com?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, great.
And I've got a free masterclass too for your listeners. So if you're ever like, how do I get confident to close high-end sales over the phone? Check out my masterclass. It's free, and you'll learn my step-by-step system for how I create that container for a powerful enrollment conversation.
Ooh, nice. And where would they find that, on your website?
Yeah, I'll give you the links that they can download it for your show notes.
Oh, that'd be great. So you guys, you hear that out there? You better say something down here and say, I want that mastermind little thing she's talking about, right? So that we get that to you. That's awesome. And your YouTube channel has a lot of great information on it. And again, you look at some of these other platforms, they're a little more let's try that word again, strategically in harmony, to where you search something, you're going to find it more. The algorithms aren't quite as crazy as they are on, say, Facebook and Instagram and some of these others, right? And so you're being found. And LinkedIn. So as a business, right, if you're really seeking something there in business, then LinkedIn is the place to go, right?
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. And so it's learning these different platforms. They're not as difficult as you want to believe that they are. It's, again, getting past that. I started working in virtual reality. Are you familiar with virtual reality at all?
Yes.
Now I'm talking the little avatar world.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant
Oh!
the little.
The little Oculus glasses and
Yeah.
everything, right? So the platform that we're working with, you don't need the Oculus glasses, right?
Oh,
But it's
cool.
still avatar. And what we've done is we've created a group of entrepreneurs, like yourself, that are, it's like a lead group, like your BNIs, your
Mhm.
chambers, things like that, to where you can come together in this virtual platform and interact with different businesses and people from all over the globe, right? And then we're looking to do events in the virtual little avatar world where, like when you go to an event, there's a table there, right? And you can
Yep.
see and talk to the person or whatever, and you go into the next one. We're actually doing that in this virtual setting to where you'll be able to come and be either a vendor or a guest, right, into this little world on VR, because it's going there and it's already there, but it's only going to get bigger and bigger. Regardless of what happens in this quarantine time, how we do business and how it's been done over the last 6 weeks, a lot of that's going to overflow into the outside world. And it's time to get used to it and say, where am I going? Where am I going with my business? And a lot of times in the coaching business and in a lot of different healing arts and financial things, just about anything, it's the same no matter where you are. There's certain businesses you're going to have a brick and mortar. It's a little hard to get a chiropractic adjustment in the virtual world, right?
Yes, of course.
It's a little hard to go to a dentist in the virtual world, things like that. But there are a lot of things and a lot of businesses that can be attracted worldwide and not
Yep.
necessarily in your backyard. And, so it gives an opportunity to be able to interact that way. If you're an author and you have a book, or if you're someone who has a course, going to an event like that and having a table with that on. We're going to have speakers, so there'll be auditoriums, so there'll be speaking things going on all the time. And it's in that platform, in that VR platform, that is so powerful. And the response we've been having in just the last couple of weeks has been unbelievable. We are getting
Awesome.
so inundated. So the virtual reality world is different from the reality, and after a while you wonder which one's real and which one isn't, Because sometimes you wonder, am I really in the real world out here, oh gosh. But there's so much that's happening all over with technology that you either go with it or you lose it, right?
That's right.
It's been kind of a proven fact. Thank goodness we had that during this confinement arena, because it's helped people to figure out another way that business can be done. So businesses are finding out, hey, you know what I didn't think was going to work, having my employees at home, it's not so bad after all, right?
Yep.
And, so things coming out of this are going to be different than when they went in, and how we do business and move forward in regardless of what it is that you're doing. So it's all about moving forward, changing the mindset, changing the belief, and really learning how to be confident and trust yourself, believe in yourself to become that better you. And Jessica, for the information that you've shared here, it's priceless. And I thank you so much for being on this show and giving that great advice that you did, and even sharing with our viewers a little freebie of masterminding, which is really something that's priceless. When you start looking at masterminding, whoa, wow, I'm going to go check this out myself, because
Awesome.
you never can have enough information. And again, like you're saying, the information that you're being fed and what you share with your clients at that point is, now it's up to them to take the information you shared and put it into action.
That's
And,
right.
so I'm sure you have people, some act fast and some don't, and some not at all, maybe, right?
Yeah, it's all up to the person, and sometimes they just have to go through their own journey with it.
Right. So if you had one more powerful little piece of information to share with the audience, what would that be?
I would say create the highest, grandest vision possible for your life. Know that if you believe it and you work towards it, you will achieve it.
That's powerful. And that is so true. And that goes back into that goal setting, right? Which I'm sure is probably part of your program, is to what is that dream, right?
Yeah, what do you want? Of course,
Yeah.
get clear.
Get clear. And that's another great tip. Get clear, because if you're not clear, how are you going to focus on what you want? If one day you're over here and the next day you're over there and then next week you're over there, right? So
Right.
it's find out exactly what you want, get clear on it, and then start driving everything that you do to get there, right?
Absolutely.
Gosh, thank you again so much for being here. We'll have to see what we can do to rearrange and get you back and talk about something different and more exciting and where things have gone. And I so appreciate everything that you've done, and I'm sure you're going to continue to help everyone out there be that best them and strive to reach their goal, whether it's finances or personal, because they go side by side. So,
Absolutely.
there we have it. Everyone go out there, be that best you that you can be, because Jessica and I are going to be the best we that we can be. And we shall see you all on the next show. Thanks for being here.